Firstly, it is true to say that I exist.
What makes me certain of this is that I have an awareness, a consciousness.
This consciousness is something that is difficult to define.
At a push, I might call it an aliveness or an awakeness. It is stable and unchanging, although the contents of the consciousness, the colourful objects that I see around me, are changing. The tree sways in the wind. The second hand of the clock ticks. But am I consciousness itself? Am I the contents of consciousness? Or am I only part of the contents of consciousness?
Do I exist as an entity that is separate from other things? And if so, what is the nature of that entity?
I have a name. Other things have different names. Therefore, there must be some distinction, some separateness between other things and me that I am aware of and able to understand. So am I perhaps this body that I see when I look down? One thing that helps me to explore this question is my experience of pain. When I pick up the spoon and hit the table, I feel nothing. Yet when I hit my hand, I feel pain.
Therefore, there seems to be a distinction between my body and other objects.
My body is a pain-sensing object, whereas the table isn't.
But does that necessarily mean that the table is any less me than the body that experiences pain?
It is true to say that I am experiencing the table and experiencing my body.
Visually, they are different shapes, but they are similar in terms of being out there in front of me in my awareness.
Perhaps rather than saying I am a body, it would be more correct to say that I have a body and a table that are part of the same experience. Do I really have any reason to believe that objects other than the body are any less me than the body? These other objects come and go as life goes on, but then so does my body when I am asleep, or when I close my eyes, for instance.
In order to further illuminate our discussion, we can look at the idea of death.
What is it that dies when I die?
Because I have no experience of my own death, it is difficult to say.
Death is, in part, the transformation of the body into a different state. We can observe the body of a dead person decaying and rotting, for instance. But what happens to the aliveness, the consciousness that I now experience when I die?
This is a mystery.
If it endures, we may envisage eternal life. If it doesn't endure, we may envisage eternal nothingness. Just because I can't remember being a 1-year-old doesn't mean I wasn't once a 1-year-old.
And in the same way, it is easy to imagine that I may have existed long before my birth and simply may not have a recollection of that time.
Is it possible that this consciousness that I now experience, in which all things are happening, has existed forever?